This is Monty McIntyre, and welcome to Masters in Trial. And my guest today is Craig McClellan, who's an outstanding trial attorney representing plaintiffs in San Diego, but his practice is really nationwide. Now, Craig has obtained more than 145 verdicts and settlements in excess of $1 million each. And another thing I wanted to ask, and you mentioned this earlier, is you can do mock jury trials. You can also do focus groups. And you mentioned earlier that you don't do so much anymore the mock jury trials, but you still use a focus group and do that a lot. So tell me why you do the focus groups and why you don't do so much anymore the mock jury trials.
Okay, well, the mock jury trials we found are not reliable for the purpose that a lot of people use them. By that, I mean, some people think that if you do a mock jury trial, that's going to be a prediction of what the trial outcome is going to be. And I don't think that's correct, especially because you don't have a lot of pick over who you get as the mock jurors. So it's kind of dependent on whatever jurors you have, who they think is putting on this mock trial, because a lot of times they'll tend to want to please you. And there's a whole bunch of other reasons, the evidence that comes in, how it comes in, et cetera, et cetera. So they're not, I don't think they're reliable. I also have concerns about the evidence presentation in a mock trial. For instance, if you want to see what the jury thinks of your client and you put your client in a mock trial, if you put your expert in a mock trial, is that potentially discoverable? Can the jurors who sign confidentiality agreements, can they still, when they read about the case, go to the defense lawyer and tell them what happened in the mock trial or what so-and-so said, or where they can get a video by subpoena or whatever? So I have a lot of concerns about that. As a result, if you do them, you usually just read little paragraphs of what the witness is going to say. And then, of course, the jurors conjure up in their own minds what that witness is like and whether they're truthful or not. So that doesn't do a lot of good. So I really haven't found them very helpful. The one thing I do remember, though, about a mock trial is that we did one once, and we always do more than one. We do 3 or 4 of them on a weekend, let's say. But we had one against a large power company in LA. And one of the old standard rules of jury selection is you never want to pick jurors who know or who are in the industry that you're suing and who know the stuff and what's going on. So with that in mind, we didn't want any people who were with power companies, electricians in particular, to be on this mock jury. But we ended up not having any choice because it was an area where there just a lot of people are employed in that way, and we didn't have enough jurors without them. So they were on there, and lo and behold, they were all in favor of the plaintiff.
Interesting.
So it kind of dispelled that old tale about never having somebody in the industry on the jury, because they were our best jurors, actually. And the reason was because we were talking about the lack of safety at this particular high voltage power plant. And these people who worked in high voltage and low voltage power plants, guess what the number one thing on their mind was?
Safety.
Safety. That's right. So they had all kinds of ideas on how this thing we were suing about could have been or should have been done.
Oh, that's great. So tell me about the benefits of focus groups and what you've learned from them.
Focus groups are great for so many things, and we focus group every case many times for all different kinds of things. They're good to see what people's reactions are to particularly difficult issues. I can give you an example. We had a case, for instance, a high impact rear end on the freeway into a vehicle and the passenger seat, the driver's seat too, but the important one was the passenger seat, what we call collapsed, what the defense called uniformly deformed to limit the stress or the energy on the passenger. But as a result of the seat back going back, the occupant was properly belted and everything, but slid from under the belts into the back seat, the back of the back seat, and ended up quadriplegic.
Hmm.
So we were worried that this was a big impact based on the damage to the rear of the Jeep and so on. And we wanted to see, because in product liability, one of the tests that you can use is the consumer expectation test. Would an average consumer expect, in this case, the vehicle to protect them in this kind of a collision? Would they have an expectation on that? So we did a focus group and we showed them the pictures of the impact damage. We gave them a report of the speeds that were involved, and we showed them the interior of the vehicle and the seat backs and so on. And 11 out of 12, and virtually all the focus groups we did, said absolutely it would be their expectation that that seat back would have protected them and not failed like it did. So those kinds of issues which you are worried about or not sure about can be focused with very helpful results. And, you know, there's just so many issues in a case that you can get the opinion of a focus group. Like I'm sure we'll talk about at some point what you do with bad facts. Bad facts are a perfect subject for focus groups.
Right.
They can give you ideas. They may think that they're not as bad as you do. They may think they're worse than you do, but usually they have some rationale, some justification for those bad facts that you hadn't thought about. And they give you some clue as to a way you may go in using those that you hadn't even considered. So they're very helpful. They have to be done, but they're very helpful.
We've gotten to that topic, and so you try to ask your mock jurors about focus group people about how they react to potential bad facts.
Yes, we'll give them bad facts and see what their reaction is. We may limit information we give them so we can focus on those things, or we may give them more general overview and then let them see if they find it or how much they think, give credence to it and that type of thing.
Do you ever get any ideas from the focus groups on how to talk about the bad fact or what phrases to use? Have they given you good ideas?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's surprising, actually. You see sometimes in these focus groups, somebody will come up with a phrase or a word or two to take care of the bad facts or to address the bad facts, and the others will grab onto it and like it. And so, yeah, we do come up with some things like that.